Hello, third graders. Welcome back. So, I am going to guess that many of you have either started drafting your information books or are very close to drafting them. And you probably feel like you're overflowing with information, and you might be wondering, how do I get all this information onto the page? Well, today I want to teach you that everything that you have learned about organizing table of contents applies to the writing of a sort of mini table of contents for each of your chapters, even if this is only in your mind. Let me show you what I mean. So here's the chart on strong tables of contents. And we know that strong tables of contents have a logical structure. We also know that they contain chapters. Each of them are of equal or very close to equal weight and importance. We also know that like the whole topic is covered. Or at least it feels like the whole topic is covered. And finally, we make sure that we don't repeat information that is included in other chapters. But here's the key. Strong table of contents, the same exact tip for strong table of contents could also be for strong information writing. Everything we see in how to organize our strong table of contents also is true for each of the chapters that we're going to be writing in our books. So I thought it would be interesting for us to go back and look at the cockroach book and think a little bit about ways that different chapters could be organized, taking into our minds this idea of a mini table of contents. Let's try that. So let me think about this chapter. Cockroach bodies are built for survival. And there's a lot of different ways I can organize it, right? I could organize it from like most important to least important. I could do parts. Ooh, I like parts. What if I did parts, not just the parts of the body, but I went in order of the body? So I'm sort of going to make my table of contents. And what if I started with the head, then I went to the abdomen, the legs, and then the cerci, which is sort of like the tail. I like that. So I'm kind of going from one end of the body to the other end of the body when I'm thinking about how to draft my piece. So now that I have sort of like that mental table of contents, I can actually think about drafting it. And I can consider like, okay, I'll start with one and move my way through. And actually going to take that plan and kind of stick it on my piece. And I could have written this in pencil. I could have kept it in my head. I could have even written it like on the side just to remind me, put on a sticky note so I can move it around. And now I am ready to draft using this as like a mini table of contents or like a plan to help me draft. And I'm going to start with like a topic sentence, right? Because it's important to start each chapter with like a mini introduction. So let me think. Cockroaches. And then I remember that whole thing about built for survival, have managed to survive for millions of years, in part because of their incredible bodies. So I've got that first sentence to kind of give the reader a little introduction. Now I'm going to move on to the head, right? The cockroaches head is built for, I'm going to just go ahead and take my title with me, survival in many ways. So I'm going to like set up the reader for more than one way. All cockroaches have antenna, I'm not sure exactly how to spell it, so I'm going to put a little question mark so I can remember to go back and check that later. Antenna at the top of their heads, which they use to taste, smell, feel for objects, and temperature. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So I would write a little bit more about the head, and then probably a sentence more about the head, and then guess what's next in this chapter about how cockroach bodies are built for survival. So writers, when you go off to draft today, one little tip I'd like you to consider. Every chapter in your informational book should be organized the same way your table of contents was organized and you worked so hard on organizing it. And one way to support the organization of your chapter is to actually make little mini table of contents for each of your chapters. You can do it in your mind, you can write it on a little piece of paper, you can write it right on the draft. If you're using a device to write this piece, you could make it in a little side note or chat box for yourself so that you can remember your mini table of contents for each chapter. Writers, I know you have a lot you want to get done today, so off you go. Happy writing.